Welcome back to Good Girls Gotta Heal, the podcast where we learn to release the weight of childhood trauma and step into our most authentic selves. It's time to ditch that good girl mask and embrace a life of ease, compassion, and genuine connection. Join me, Megan Walsh, holistic trauma therapist, and let's embark on a journey of healing and self-discovery together. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Good Girls Gotta Heal. I am Megan, your host, and this week I am so excited. This has been an interview that we on my end have had to reschedule quite a few times, and I am so grateful to finally be here with Claire Marget. Oh my God, did I just say it right?
No, you said it
wrong?
right.
Okay.
Marget.
I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. We got it with Claire Marget. And I am so thrilled to have her here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Claire before we welcome her on. So Claire, she is an LMT, so licensed massage therapist. She's a speaker, she's an author, and she's a body worker who explores the intersection of science and spirit. I love this. And this has been a theme we've been exploring on the podcast lately. And so really excited to dive in more. Her debut book, Good Hard Good, is coming out in spring 2026, draws from her own journey through loss, illness, and healing, blending epigenetics, embodiment, and spiritual insight to invite readers to a fuller way of being human. I love this. Claire, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so nice to look you in the eye. Finally.
I know.
This is the third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. And we've been trading voice notes. So we've been hearing each other's voices. So it is so nice to be here together. And I know, I'm going to start by naming, we're going to open up and learn more about you and your work. But both Claire and I have connected and identified with being in a season of right? This is a hard season. There's a lot happening, right? A lot happening personally that is just impacting us, obviously impacting our ability to show up in our work. And so it's something that we really have decided, let's talk about that today. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
And before we get there, though, I would love for our listeners just to learn more about you and your story. And I wonder if you'd be open to kind of bringing us back to whatever version of your story that you would like to share with us that has kind of brought you to where you are in your work and, of course, personally today.
Yeah, I like that question. And the way I answer it is I use bean dips as an example.
I love it.
Like these layers, cakes or bean dips. And so I guess that, we arrive today as an embodiment expert, a trauma expert, and just as a human, right?
Yeah.
After decades of incredible loss and trauma and illness and grief and all of that. And layer one of that is that, I grew up in a home with a dying sister. She had pediatric brain cancer. I was 2 years older than her. And so for 10 years of my developmental, so I'm 7 to 16, I am just barraged with death and loss and
oh my goodness.
A lot of hard.
A lot of hard.
And forged in that, and one of the things, I'll take a little detour. One of the things I love is that I feel like I can speak to am I allowed to say the F word or no?
You sure are. Yes,
okay. I speak to the truly fucked up.
Yes, I love it.
One of the things when I speak at rehabs, I say, Anne Lamott, Glennon Doyle, these beautiful archetypes of sober women, whatever. They found out they were pregnant and they stopped using their drug of choice, right? I found out I was pregnant with my third and I ramped it up because just it was too much, right? So I like when I love being in recovery, which is probably like layer 4 of the bean dip when we get there.
Sure.
Because I was in it for a long time. Dying sister, death, grief, disorganized attachment, splitting constantly.
Oh goodness.
And then, when there's a dying kid in the house, it usually means that your parents are not their best selves.
No.
So you deal with the abuse and the neglect of that. And so that's kind of layer, on top of that, there was
my goodness.
a lot of just reconciling with abusive parents.
Yeah. Oh
And a
my
lot of that
God.
has been reconciled. Like, a lot of that
Sure.
has been, and I'm eternally grateful to that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Wow,
then
Claire.
layer 3 would be that I got diagnosed with cancer
Mm.
for a first time 3 years after my sister Ellen died, so I was 19, and then then got pregnant. I got
Uh-huh.
married, had a beautiful love story, still am
Yeah.
married to this
Love
guy,
it.
he's a rock star.
You deserve that, clearly.
Yeah, we all do.
It's needed,
But man,
right?
you can't have my David.
Aw.
So I got pregnant. I wasn't supposed to. It was a beautiful little
Uh-huh.
miracle. And
Wow.
then when she was 5 weeks old, I was re-diagnosed. And that
Oh,
one really
no.
sucked.
Oh,
That
God,
one,
yeah.
whatever was already in there, like
Mhm,
just
mhm.
brooding, just
Uh-huh.
waiting,
Yep.
was let loose when
Yeah.
when I was diagnosed that
Oh
second
my
time.
God.
And the treatment was way more intensive.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
so my medical trauma really, I mean, obviously I was traumatized the
Mhm.
first time when I was
For
19,
sure.
but that
Yeah.
was like easy cancer, I call it.
Uh-huh. Sure.
It's and then, it was easy cancer. The second time was not easy cancer. It was a bone
No.
marrow transplant. I flatlined.
Oh my
I
God.
left the hospital, and I was not the same person I was, after you're there
No.
for
Of
months.
course. Oh.
And that began, so that was, let's see,
Mhm.
Lucy's 14 and a half now.
14.
So
Wow.
that was then that marked the next layer of the bean dip, which was just chronic pain town. Like,
Yes.
it was just
Yes.
it was, I weighed over
Uh,
450 pounds. I had
uh-huh.
a newborn. I had over 10 diagnoses, was on every prescription imaginable, so ill, so
Oh my
severed,
gosh.
so dead,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
dead, so
Yeah.
afraid to be human in this world.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I had another miracle baby, and then had another miracle baby, my
Wow.
third. And
Incredible.
at that point, because at that point I was just like, fuck it.
Mhm.
I have pain. I keep getting pregnant.
Mhm.
They're like,
Mhm.
so that's when,
Yeah.
that's that next layer, which
Sure.
is that's when
Uh-huh.
any good girl would
Mhm.
have, or anyone who knew how to ask for help, or
Sure.
anyone who,
Mhm.
wasn't completely, who wasn't me, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
would have asked for help, would have stopped
Sure.
using. But
Uh-huh.
that's when I started hoarding meds after
Okay.
procedures, and
Sure.
misusing
Sure.
them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then my third child was born, Atticus,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I looked at him in the NICU withdrawing from my meds, and I saw, he's in this little clear bassinet, and he had a whole team of people there to help him. He had nurses
Uh-huh.
and doctors, and I was there, and his grandma was there, and dad was there, and
Yeah.
there were all these people. And I looked to David, my husband,
Yeah.
and I said, I need a place like this. Like, whatever this is, I need this. This isn't like, I don't
Yes.
need more
Need a
whatever.
team.
I need a
Yes, I need the
team. I need
team.
help, right?
Yeah.
That's
I
the
need help.
first, I'm powerless.
Yeah.
I came to
Yeah.
learn that's what that meant.
Oh, yeah.
So within a week of Atticus returning home from the NICU, I was in rehab. And that was
Mhm.
11 years ago, this October 20th. And that, man, if you have not been to rehab, you have to go. Have you ever been to rehab, Megan?
I have not been to rehab.
Oh my God, you walk, David
Mhm.
speaks with me sometimes. He talks
Mhm.
about just the feeling he had
Mhm.
walking through the glass
Mhm.
doors, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can be
Yeah.
a human here.
Yeah.
No one's pretending here.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one's pretending here. And
Mhm. There are no
that was
masks.
what I needed.
Yeah. Oh my
So that was
gosh.
11 years ago. And
Wow.
okay, so the next layer would be that I had to stop using all the meds that made me
Mhm.
not hurt,
Sure.
but
Sure.
really it didn't do anything. And so then
Yeah.
I was like, oh God,
You
now
had
I'm
to
in real pain.
feel. Yeah.
Now
Yep.
I'm in, and a
Mhm.
therapist at rehab said, have you ever been touched? Have you ever been accessed physically, therapeutically?
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is where it all changes. This is, where it all changes, is
Yeah.
that
Wow.
I said no. And she goes, well, go get a massage. And
Yeah.
I did. And 5 years later, I was a massage therapist specializing in
Wow.
trauma touch and autonomic nervous systems and
Mhm, mhm.
polyvagal, all the things we
Yes, all the
do.
things.
And
Mhm.
embodiment was the missing piece. As
Yes. Yeah.
I had been in talk therapy for decades, and
Mhm.
it was great,
Yeah,
but I still landed at
yeah.
rehab,
Of course,
you
of
know.
course.
But it
Right.
was getting back in my. It was not even getting
Getting it
back. 'Cause I don't think I'd ever really
been. Of
been
course.
there.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
I made friends with my body and with my little Claire,
Yes,
and
yes.
now I
Uh-huh.
trust it all implicitly, and I teach and I write and I love it and I hate it,
Wow.
and and it's all wonderful.
Yes, it's so
It's
wonderful.
yeah.
Wow, Claire, wow. I'm in
I
awe
know that's such
of
a lot.
this.
I'm
But
sorry. It's
no, right? Like there's no apology there because I am
no.
holding like, wow, like a lot that you have had to go through, that you have had to experience, a little you had to experience. I mean, so much trauma in the body. Clearly,
Oh,
trauma in the
yeah.
body, such a theme just from
Yep.
what you witnessed growing up, right? And that clearly, I mean, I think I named this on the podcast recently before too, but I worked for the first 5 years of, or no, 6 years of my career. I worked in a children's hospital
Oh.
as a therapist in a children's hospital. So, and have always been particularly struck by the siblings of the patients, like the cancer patients, and knowing just the profound impact it was having on them. Because, of course, you don't want to be the sibling that's going through it, but that sibling's getting a lot of attention, right? A lot of care and nurturing. And I often, I worked really hard to set aside time with the siblings because
Mm.
it's such a necessary, right? Like they slip through the cracks. They get
Oh,
missed just
yeah.
because they're healthy and well at the time. Me somehow they don't get as much attention, and so just thinking about little you who then had to navigate complex, unsafe feeling dynamics with your parents. I mean, it's so much, and how that was so the core of your nervous system, and then, oh, of course, it naturally, right, plays
Yeah.
plays out in these ways, especially when we don't learn, right, when we don't get the tools at such an early age on this is how we navigate our hurt, our worry, our fear. I imagine that you were holding so much of that at that
Oh
age.
god, and anger,
I mean,
rage,
yes,
just
rage,
rage.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
When that has nowhere to go. Oh,
So you eat
I
it, and you cut it,
eat it.
and
Yeah, you
you
get it.
know,
You drink it when you
you
you know
drink it,
you
you fuck it, you
yeah,
whatever you
yes.
can do
Yeah.
to make it not
To
be a
make it
wound anymore,
right, right, because that is what it is, right? It's an invisible wound, and
Yeah.
I mean, it is just it's so remarkable that all this work that you've done. I mean, so much, all of the pain that you had to face. I'm even thinking of like, tell me what it was like, even with your son in the NICU and having to see him withdrawing. Like, what emotionally? I know you noticed, right? I need this team. I'm so curious too, because I feel like that was a point of like, right, we can't hide anymore. And
Mhm.
tell me how that was for you.
How was that for me? That was I don't know that I can speak to how it was in the moment other than
Mm-hmm.
this isn't working
Yeah.
and I need it and something has
Right.
to change, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there had been a history of substance misuse in my mom and dad
Mm-hmm.
both were active
Sure.
users throughout my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was no language to discuss what was
Yeah.
actually going on. And then on
Right.
top of that, I was bolstered up by like, no, I need these meds. Like all these meds that I'm on, I
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
And
They make
I'm
me feel
having all
better.
yeah. So
Right.
it was emotionally in that moment, there was shame and also knowing that I couldn't hide
Mm-hmm.
anymore, that my addiction, my misuse, my
Yeah.
wounds had wounded another, like officially. That there
Mm.
was no way, had I raged at my other two children? Yeah. Did they experience some really ugly parts of me?
Mhm.
Absolutely. But
Mhm.
that they weren't in the NICU. They
Yeah.
they didn't have a
Yeah.
team of people. They weren't receiving
Sure.
methadone to wean off, and I had finally seen like, oh, my wounds now
Mhm.
officially have affected
Mhm.
another.
Yeah. Totally.
And there was this
Oh.
moment in rehab where this is gnarly. I might tear up when I talk about this.
Yeah, it's okay.
There was a mother a young mother, younger than I was. If I'm 37 now, I was 36, no,
Mm-hmm.
26. She was in
Mm-hmm.
her early 20s. And I was in rehab. I wanted a visitation from my son, right? I have this
Mm-hmm.
newborn and I was like, can I bring
Yes.
in? They're like, absolutely, bring him in.
Yeah.
And so David brings Atticus in and
Mm-hmm.
we're just hanging out in the lobby. And this woman walks over, this young woman, and says, um, I, lo- I lost my baby because I was doing too much heroin. Like essentially like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and she goes, can I just sit next to you with your baby? Can I just sit next to you?
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, absolutely. And then she sits next to me and she goes, and then I say like, do you want to hold him? Do you want to
Oh,
hold this baby?
yeah.
And she looked at me like and she goes, you'd let me hold you? Like, you're going to let me hold him? I was like,
Mhm.
sister, we're in here.
Yes.
Mine were prescribed and I'm white, right?
Uh-huh.
Yours
Uh-huh.
weren't. And you're a little
Yeah.
bit darker than I am. We
Uh-huh.
are, but we both have wounds. We are
Yeah.
both here,
Of course. Of
and
course.
so she held
Yeah.
my baby on the leather sofa and
Oh.
just and so
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers that, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like I knew I was wounded. I knew I needed help.
Right. Right.
And I knew that if I wanted my story to change, if
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the
Yeah.
trajectory of things to change, I was going to have to change.
Yeah. Right.
And so I did. I went someplace where
Oh.
people learn how to change.
Yes, right. And learn, I mean, what I hear is like infusing your story, infusing that woman's story
Yeah.
with compassion when so much of our society is conditioned that if you are going into rehab, somehow you are bad or you are not good enough to be a parent, which is not wrong at all, right? Everybody is just operating from the wounds that have not been healed, right? The wounds that they inherited, the wounds that they were conditioned with. And until we can have compassion for everybody's wounds, right? It doesn't excuse behaviors, but we need to have compassion for the wounded part. That's the only way, right? We're going to progress and heal. And I just see what a gift you gave her
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to say, no, I'm not right. There's no judgment here. There is
Yeah.
no shame. We are in this together and you deserve this moment just as much as I do. And so what a profound, beautiful moment
Yeah.
that
I call
you
that
gave her.
Thank you. It rocks me to this
Yeah.
day. I
Yeah.
call that wounded, not wicked. That it's a
Yes,
chapter, like I
yes.
write
Oh, I
about this
love
a
it.
lot. That I
I
had
love
this
it.
like vision one day of my
Mhm.
mom in this cloak. So it was
Mhm.
a vision, it was a dream. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in early recovery, I'm differentiating hardcore. I didn't
Mhm.
talk to my mom for over 5 years of my
Mhm.
first early recovery.
Yeah.
And there was this dream that I had where I see her walk in this room and immediately I want to blip out, right? I want to wake up, I
Mhm.
want to come out of the meditation, in whatever
Yeah.
state I was in,
Yeah.
I wanted to leave it.
Yeah.
But because recovery teaches you not to run, but to stay and
Mhm.
embodiment teaches us
Yep.
to feel and to
Yeah, to feel.
notice and all
Mhm.
that, I decided to stay. And she's wearing this cloak and I look at her and then she takes the cloak off and I can see that she's just necrotic from the neck
Mhm.
down, just
Mhm.
oozing, right? And so here I
Mhm.
am forced to
Yeah.
look at my abuser, the one, like
Yes.
I,
Yeah.
if you heard her flip-flops coming down the hallway, you knew what was coming.
Mhm.
And I'm
Mhm.
looking at her and I'm like, fuck, I can't be mad at you. Like, look at you. You're
Yeah.
bleeding.
Yeah.
I can see your
Yeah.
bones through your
Mhm.
flesh.
Yeah.
And then to have me then in that moment, because I'm still, reconciling with the wounds
Sure.
I caused people in my active
Mhm.
addiction. Oh, you gave me your wounds. I
Mhm.
have given other people my wounds.
Mhm.
You're not bad.
Yeah.
I can't reject you, which means I can't reject me, which means I can't
Mhm.
reject anyone. We're
Yep.
all just here, like working really hard with what we were given.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well, isn't that like a decade of therapy in a nutshell, right? Like that
oh
is.
God, yeah, a lot of body work too.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, of course. Of course. And I'm so curious. I mean, and such a beautiful representation of the intergenerational trauma, right? Again, of how you can look at her and say, you're not bad. I'm not, I'm angry. I'm still freaking angry at you. And the behaviors that, right? The harm that was caused is not okay.
Yep.
Right? That's not okay. And you can understand the wounds from which it came.
Yes.
And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how, embodiment, your relationship to your body, and tell us about that journey to really becoming in more safe connection with your body and what, through everything that you learned, what really helped.
Yeah. Well, so many of us learn so easily, eat so early, and it's very easy
Mhm,
to to
mhm,
just step away from our
mhm,
bodies, right? It's
mhm,
I'm just gonna step away here. I don't like the way this feels right now, or something
mhm,
was done physically to them. When
mhm,
I work with people in trauma and trauma informed touch and all of that, like there are many scenarios in which blipping out was
mhm.
not only, necessary,
Yeah.
but just what had to be.
Yeah.
And I was no different.
Mhm,
I blipped out a lot. I left my body constantly. I was gone a lot.
mhm,
And then I got my first massage where someone treated scar tissue. So
mm.
I at that point in my recovery and everything, like touch was really unsafe.
Yep.
Touch was I didn't like to be hugged because it hurt.
Mm.
I didn't, it was people were unsafe, touch was unsafe, everything was unsafe as far as my body was concerned.
Yep.
But I had this person, I have this scar right here.
Mhm,
That's my one of
mhm.
my port scar.
Yeah.
And so a therapist starts to get in there, and do some techniques. And that was the first moment where I was captivated. At that point, I had enough recovery under my belt. I knew that I could hang with this. I was
Mhm,
curious and courageous. I could
mhm.
do the work. So I
Yeah.
hung with it, and I just started to weep on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wept. And
Uh-huh.
that was phase one of, and that's a really nice entry point for people who are newer to embodiment practices, is just like
Mhm,
some trauma informed
mhm,
myofascial work. That's
mhm.
beautiful, right? You're going to
Yeah.
be impacting structures, you're getting into some autonomic stuff with the
Mhm,
fascia and all that.
mhm,
And then I took it a step deeper, then I went a little bit deeper because this therapist was wise and
mhm,
experienced and said, I think it's time that we get your autonomic nervous system on
mm.
board.
Yeah.
So when we're working with myofascial, what we think about as massage is like, I'm going to get into your muscle and rub it, right? But
Mhm.
that's your peripheral nervous system.
Sure.
That's voluntary. That's I
Yeah.
can control what if I'm contracting this. The real shit, right? You want to get
Mhm.
regulated, you want to get embodied. That's autonomically focused body work. So that's a whole separate branch of your nervous system.
Right.
That's where stuff like cranial sacral, that's where lymphatic
Mhm.
work, that's
Yeah.
anything that deals with structures in your body that are autonomically innervated, right? So my
Yes.
favorite story, that began my story with my season of cranial sacral, which
Uh-huh.
was it's a very light. I don't know how familiar or how often you guys talk about body work on this.
We talk a lot about nervous system regulation, but we
Okay.
have never talked about cranial sacral.
Oh
So
my
would love to
God.
hear
Okay,
more. Yeah.
great. Okay, so cranial is a beautiful way. It is so regulatory. You're
Mhm.
tapping into rhythms of the fluid that bathe your brain and each
Mm.
neuron as it goes
Yeah.
out into your body, right?
Mhm.
You're finding that rhythm, you're noticing that rhythm, a trained therapist, right? And then the
Sure.
beautiful thing is what a good therapist does is they're little flashlights and mirrors, right? So
Mhm.
we're gonna bring light to this autonomic
Mhm.
structure. We're gonna show it what it's doing, and
Yeah.
then, as Bessel says, decide what happens next. Notice
Mhm.
that, decide what happens next. So cranial
Yeah.
and autonomic body work is a beautiful place to be able to notice, and
Uh-huh.
then to, with
Yeah.
empowerment and
Mm.
courage and all of that curiosity, say,
I love it.
what could happen differently or
Yeah.
new here?
Right.
So anyway, I'm
Right.
on the
Oh.
table getting cranial, and it's my first time, and this therapist goes like, just so you know, everything is safe here. And I'm like, what the hell kind of massage am I about to get? Like,
Right.
what's about to happen? And he's barely touching my body, right? Because cranial,
Mhm.
it's a very
Mhm.
light
Yeah.
modality. and I feel this rage building in me, and I
Mhm.
have this image of punching him in the face.
Mm. Mhm.
And so I say, "I'm noticing that I wanna punch you in the face." And he goes, "Okay, tell me more about that."
Yeah, yeah.
And I,
Mhm.
on the table real time,
Mhm.
got to process love and care only hurt growing. If it doesn't hurt, then it's not care. Because
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that's how I received
Yeah.
love. It has to hurt. Care it
Has
has
to
to
hurt.
cost me
Right.
something.
Oh.
And
Uh-huh.
here there's this person caring for me, and I'm
Just
not in discomfort.
right.
I'm very I feel, and so
Mhm.
and then that unleashed a whole you know, like, it was like,
Oh, for
"Okay,
sure.
what does that mean?" And then
Mhm.
lymphatics changed my life. Like, lymphatics and visceral work for
Mhm.
insides, and that's
Oh,
again,
incredible.
lymphatics drain cortisol, so if you're working
Uh,
on autonomic regulation,
mhm.
on somatic, any
Yeah.
sort of anything
Yeah.
regulating endocrine focused, lymphatics are key. And
Yeah.
then visceral, which, you know, means our insides, our
Mhm. Mhm.
juicy, our organs,
Mhm.
vasculature, all of
Yep.
that. Those don't get seen. And I
Yeah.
can probably say with those don't get seen.
Uh-huh.
And I would argue potentially take the largest hit
Of
when we
course.
experience trauma
Mhm.
and dysregulation,
Yep.
because they are so, you know, vagus nerve,
Mhm.
right down to our
Mhm.
guts, to our
Oh, yeah.
insides. And so
Right.
if you don't have a therapist who's working your guts, you're
Mhm.
missing out on a lot of good
It's
stuff.
true.
So
Yep.
yeah, those are all my get cranial, you know, myofascial is
Yes.
great, cranial is
Uh-huh.
great, lymphatic
Great.
work is great,
Yeah.
visceral is essential as you're
Beautiful.
recalibrating
Mhm.
your vagal
Yep.
tone and all of that.
Totally. Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
Trauma
Wow.
informed touch is beautiful.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love this. I love
Okay,
this.
great.
All of
I
this
love
is
this too.
so, again, it's so important to, I love that you're giving, right, the nitty-gritty behind all of it, because I'm sure people are like, hear these words, I hear these types of embodied work. And so it's so helpful to talk through them and for everybody to be able to step into what feels, right, like what feels safe enough to you. And it might be like a gradual
Yeah.
step process, just like it was
Oh,
for
for
you,
sure.
right? Like what is the safest thing to step into? And maybe for right now, it might be learning, some simple butterfly tapping, right? Some humming, the deep breathing, just to start to develop
Breathing,
this, right, relationship to your
breath is
body.
medicine.
Yeah. And then figuring out, how do I want to step further into it? And I'm right there with you. Like for me, at any point of my healing journey, like it got surged, like the healing surged when I was bringing in an embodied component. And
Awesome.
yeah, I did some network spinal analysis for a while when I lived in New York, which is, again, it's very like minimal touch type
Yeah.
of chiropractor, which is so powerful. And currently I'm doing a lot of acupuncture, which is
Okay.
very helpful to me at this moment in time too. So it's so key, so key.
It's essential.
Yeah, it's essential. And I'm so curious how in this moment, right, if we bring ourselves to today
Yeah.
and back to our, like, we know
Mhm.
behind the scenes, we're both going through a moment. How are you using it today? And anything
Yes.
you want to share about what is coming up for you in this moment.
Yeah. Well, so our family's we're on the tail end of probably the most traumatic event of
Mhm.
since I got sober 11 years.
Mhm.
My husband lost his job and we drained all our savings
Oh
last year while
my
he
God.
tried to start his AI startup that didn't go well.
Mhm.
So we were rebuilding savings. He'd lost his job that he had
Mhm.
just literally was employed for like 2 months, if that. And we made the call. We were just like, nope, we're not going to hustle anymore.
Yeah.
We're not going to
Yeah.
hustle. We're going to sell this house.
Mm.
And then we have 4 children, and
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
it was incredible. That was August 7th. And it's like, what is it? September
Oh,
29th,
September 29th.
right?
Wow.
You want to talk about like not feeling great in your body.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's me. And
Mhm.
I'll like the nitty gritty, the ugly part of that is that I've been drinking more. Like
Mm.
alcohol
Mhm.
was not something that I
Sure.
struggled with, but I have been drinking, had been
Mhm.
drinking more like that
Sure.
month, the last couple of weeks. I'm like, all right, let's get our shit together. We
Yeah.
got this.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
in the heat of it, it was a gin and tonic every night. Like
Sure.
it was something every night.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like I have this awful pattern, this resentment that I have, this blaming that I do. And addicts love to
Mm.
blame, right? When we can't
Mm-hmm.
use, we blame.
Sure.
And I had this awful story around my kids and just like resenting them so heartily and having to sit with that awful resentment and
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
the stories around that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so that, yeah, like resentment,
Yeah.
using alcohol,
Sure.
my my body. I mean, like I am up 10 pounds right now than I
Mm-hmm.
more than I
Mm-hmm.
normally am.
Sure.
And I
Yep.
know that I know what
Oh,
cortisol
for
does to
sure.
my cells, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so it's forcing me to have to look at, okay, to have to like re-engage
Mm-hmm.
all my body stuff, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so those are some, like, I'm thinking, those are the love addiction, the love addict in me.
Mm.
Like I there are some phone numbers I haven't deleted in my, you
Sure.
know, there are some people who I know I could get a little hit from if I
Uh-huh.
needed to.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
that's another, those are all
Yeah.
just the most human nitty things in
Totally.
me.
I so
Um,
appreciate you naming them all because I think they're so relatable, right?
yeah.
So
Well,
relatable.
shit. They're not
Yeah.
fun.
No, they're not fun.
They're
They're
not
not fun.
fun, but you know, then it's like, okay, I guess I have to get back into my
Yeah.
program so
Mm-hmm.
that, you
Yep.
know, I took the
Yep.
dog for a walk this morning. I'm
Mm-hmm.
making sure I'm hydrated.
Yep. Yep.
I body work feels really tough right
Yeah.
now for me.
For
I don't
sure.
really want people near my cells.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't feel, I barely feel safe here with me. So I don't know that
Yeah.
I want like you here with me, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Sure.
And I think it's just really, I love that as someone who specializes in all
Yeah.
of this, right?
Yeah.
Who has
Mm-hmm.
for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
specialized in this work,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yep.
just be able to sit here with
Yeah.
you and with everyone and be like,
Yes.
okay,
I don't
I
want
don't know
to.
shit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of shit and I don't know shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's like you're in a moment of everything is activated. Right, your nervous system is on overdrive. You're not in your right most calm, grounded, elevated, evolved state, right? Every trauma is getting kicked back up because like precisely, right? It
Your
lives in our
safety,
bodies. Yeah, and it's
safety
exactly in
body.
the moment we don't feel safe, it all comes to the surface.
The
And
wound operates.
exactly, and I will share too that in this and I named with you that I would talk about this, not something that I don't share so much about my personal life being a therapist, but as I am stepping into more of a sharing vulnerable state that, recently I've been dealing with recurrent miscarriages and just had my fourth, which was an ectopic pregnancy, which resulted in surgery. And, we were so hopeful. And then to have it crushed again in a very short period of time, all four of these. And then in the recovery period, being like, I hate this feeling. I hate feeling sad. I'm a trauma therapist, right? I support people through feeling sad every single day, and I hate it so much. I don't want to feel it. I
What
don't
does
want
that
to
look
feel
like?
it.
What does that
Yes.
look like? So like in the moments of
Mm-hmm.
sadness,
Yeah.
like
Oof.
what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
What's the story? What
Oh, it's such a great question. So for me, it is how do I like my body tightens and it is
Okay.
how do I keep this hidden essentially, right? Like it's because sadness is so vulnerable.
Oh,
I almost have to decide, do I want to let it be seen or not? And I'm very lucky to I've had the most fantastic therapist for 16 plus years now. And, was able to see him early on, even though part of me was like, I don't want to talk about it right now. I want to keep it hidden. I want to hold it. I don't want to share it because it's way too vulnerable to share
yeah,
with you.
don't get
I
near
get,
me. I
right.
can
I
do
get
this.
angry. Exactly. Right. I can
Yeah.
do it all on my own. All of our most earliest coping mechanisms come to the surface of I got it on my own, right? You don't get to see me in this state because it's not safe. It is not safe. And so letting myself be seen there, I think letting myself I remember there was one night I was going to sleep and it was maybe 2 days after the surgery where I think just hormonally, having enough distance from the trauma of all of a sudden, one day being told you're going to surgery tomorrow and then, having full anesthesia, all of that, recovering the first day. And then it was the end of the second day that I just got the grief of everything that we've experienced this year, right? All four came to the head at once because in the earlier losses, I was, what got me going, like what kept me going was, we'll try again. We'll try again. Maybe the next time will work, right? Like that just helped me move on without fully processing and grieving. The grief had to be felt here. There was just
Okay.
no escaping it. And I remember just crying and literally like laying in bed and like trying to like keep my tears hidden from my husband who was laying right next to me. He finally turns over and is like, hey, and then of course it just felt safe to feel. And from that moment on, I really let myself be honest with everybody in my life that this is hard. I'm not well. I'm not okay.
I'm not well. Oh, I'm
Which,
not well.
right? And how hard is
Nobody's
that?
well.
No, right?
No, but I
Nobody is
mean, like,
well right
yes,
now.
we're well, and
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
so
And we're
sorry.
not, no, thank you. I so
I mean, like,
appreciate.
I hate the word sorry, but
I know, but you know what? Like that's what needs to be heard, right? Like this sucks. Like
that's
that's what's
real.
helpful to me, right? Is I think sometimes so many people, and I see this so clearly, don't know what to say. So they either don't say anything, or they, say something. Well, maybe you'll just relax and it'll happen the next time, or it's like, no, that's really not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
What it has impacted me the most was and someone that says, I see you. I see how much this sucks. I wish I could take this pain away. And I know that it sucks to feel it. And I'm here with you, right? I'm here with you and you're not alone because it's such an isolating experience. And and I want to offer that back to you of like, holy crap, this past 2 months,
Oh, yeah.
how much grief I know had to come with this. This is a decision we had to make and a decision I hate and I didn't want to make. And I'm sure seeing it in your kids and just how much is there
A
at the
lot.
surface. And of course, how much your body was like, this is painful. All of the red alerts going off of like, this is painful. How do we ease this pain a bit? It's so not surprising that you had to go back to coping mechanisms just to kind of numb things a little
Yeah.
bit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the term "take the edge off"
That job,
is
literally.
quite,
Yes.
and here's what I like. First of all, I'm really curious what I'm holding a heart rock. That's what I'm. If anyone cares, I
Oh,
do that because I
mm-hmm.
mean, I
I love
I
that.
have a picking. I have
Sure.
so
Yep.
that's one
Yep.
of my coping. So I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed that I'm, like I'm ticking away a little more.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's what I'm
Sure.
holding.
Love it.
I'm first of all, I'm curious what happened, like why you said the fourth, that there was
Uh-huh.
something that shifted after
Yeah.
this time where it felt like, oh, this has to be like,
Mm-hmm.
what was,
This because the first three were early, like were chemical losses. So they were losses
okay,
that happened around 5
okay.
weeks. So passed naturally, didn't have to have any intervention.
Oh, that's very different.
This one of being hopeful because numbers looked so much better, and then literally
Okay.
having to get cut open, like that.
Yeah.
Just like the physical impact on my body was so much more significant. That, of course, as we're talking about, right, the link between the physical and the emotional, it just right, I couldn't suppress or
Yeah.
hide the emotion anymore.
Isn't that so that truly the
Mm-hmm.
second more of your cells were involved in it,
Mm-hmm.
more of your system, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't ignore it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh God,
Absolutely.
fuck that.
I know. Exactly.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
something I was gonna, there was, I forget it though. I got distracted by
Right.
the hard
Oh
rock
no.
and picking
And
the
no,
program.
I that's actually I love that. I love that the holding of the rock. I think that's so key. And one disclaimer I do want to give as I'm sharing this, and as perhaps clients that I work with are listening, and then perhaps being concerned.
Yeah.
That I am, I'm not going to say I'm okay. I'm going to say I have not been okay. And I have all the right supports around me that are really helping me through that. I am moving through this. And so I share it as a way to help others, right, feel less alone. Because I know whenever I especially hear someone else's fertility story, or if they've had challenges or been through losses, like to me, oh, that feels so much better to hear it than to
Yes, I'm
not.
not
Yeah,
alone.
I'm not alone
You
in
know what this
this.
feels like. You can
Mhm.
actually be here with me.
Right.
You
Yeah.
actually can be here with me. I
Yeah.
was a way better LMT of people with cancer and
Oh, of
grief and trauma
course. Right.
because
You
my
got
body
it.
knew what it felt like. What it
Yes.
felt like. So you're,
Right.
man, and that was
Mhm.
okay. So that reminds me then of the thing that I was going to say, which is
Mhm.
the beauty of having so much time, and so I'm speaking kind of to both of us, right?
Mhm,
That we've
mhm.
got this time, we have
Yeah.
tools, we
Mhm.
have a relationship with ourselves and with ourselves. And that means that we're trustworthy to ourselves. So
Yeah.
like when I am drinking that gin and tonic, right?
Mhm.
I actually know that I'm okay. I know
Mhm.
why I'm drinking
Right.
it. I know what's in it.
Yes.
I know what it's going to do to my cells specifically, to what
Yeah.
structures. I am it is actually an embodied choice, that which is
Uh-huh.
so weird
Yes.
and so wonky, and that's where, like,
Right.
I have that's where
Yeah.
next loving step comes in my
Mhm.
world and how I teach is, like,
Yes.
not what's right, not what's
Yes.
wise, not what's
Mhm.
moral or responsible, what is loving? Because
Mhm.
if it's between love and fear here,
Yeah.
and yes, you could make an argument that, like, I'm afraid to feel the feelings around my kids not being able
Sure.
to swing in their apple tree. But actually,
Yeah.
I am feeling those,
Yes.
and I am
Yes.
still drinking a gin and tonic, and
Right.
I
You
trust
trust.
that at the end of all that, like, that even right
Uh-huh.
now,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
That
I
you're
have the
okay, right?
tools.
You have the
You're
tools.
okay.
Yeah,
And
I'm okay. Mhm.
everyone's gonna be okay.
Right. We're all
That's
gonna
what
be
I want
okay.
people to hear is, like,
Yes.
"You're
No,
not crazy.
right, right.
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be
And
okay, and you're killing it.
absolutely. Yeah,
You're
you're
doing the
killing
best you
it.
can."
Exactly, exactly. And we get to say that and truly believe it because I hear so many people are like, "Well, if you say I'm going to be okay, what if I'm not?" And I know to me that really identifies with an earlier part of me who constantly wanted affirmation that things were going to be okay.
Yeah.
I literally made a TikTok about this a few weeks ago. I was just saying like, "Hey, things are going to be okay," because if we look backwards, right? I mean, especially in your story, every marker that you hit that felt like maybe the world was crumbling down, things were
I'm
not
gonna
going to be
die
okay.
here.
Yeah, I'm literally gonna die
I'm
here.
gonna die here.
Yeah, you got to the other side, you knew ultimately, right? The more that you just
We're
stayed
okay.
present to yourself, witnessed yourself, allowed whatever was coming up, meeting it with compassion, you're okay, right? You're okay. And being okay doesn't mean we are going to never have anything uncomfortable happen to us in the future.
No.
Quite the opposite. It just means that we know that we have done so much work and have the tools and are continuing to use the tools and come in and out of how often we use the tools. That's for sure. We know them, but our body has to feel safe enough to allow them in. And sometimes it's extra hard when we're in the thick of it. Our bodies are responding like stay away because it doesn't feel safe right now. And it's okay to give ourselves some time to like get
Yes.
back into our most grounded, evolved selves. We need that time. We need the time and space for our body to literally feel every day that we are more and more and more okay, even when it's hard.
Yeah. Don't have to
Truly.
run.
Yeah. Don't have to run.
Oh god.
Yep.
We're
It's
all
a
gonna
lot.
make it.
We're all gonna make it. And so,
We're all gonna make it.
yeah, if you are listening and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't feel okay. Like we're giving you permission to
Yeah.
feel that, right? Just meet yourself where you are. And I'm so curious, anything else that you would want to impart to anyone listening who really resonates today and feels seen?
You're gonna make it. We're all gonna
Mm-hmm.
make it. You
Mm-hmm.
and here's another one, man, is that you can't fuck it up.
Yeah.
You really can't. You
Love that.
can't hear this is coming from someone who put their kid in like, you can't mess it up. It's
Mm-hmm.
not you are not messed up.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't mess it up. And the
Mm-hmm.
really hard part about this is that neither can anyone else. That if
Right.
you can't mess it up, that means
Right.
that nobody else can mess you up. And that
Yeah.
is at the
Mm,
root
so
of
true.
all like trauma work is that
Yeah.
you're not messed up.
Yeah.
Nobody messed you up. You're doing it. You're doing the work. I
Mm-hmm.
love you.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. Nobody knows what's going on. Even those of us who do have a clue what's going on, we don't know what's
Uh-huh.
going on. We're
Right.
just
No.
here
Mm-hmm.
hydrating
Mm-hmm.
and taking walks and watching sunsets and hiding our tears from our partners
Yes. Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
crying with the
Yep.
kids
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
and it's good
And
and
we're
it's
just
hard.
exactly, and we're staying
Yeah.
present, right? We're continuing to show back up, show up
Yep.
for ourselves. And of course, right, you can't mess it up because anything, I'll always say this to clients, like anything can be repaired, right? Anything can be worked on. Anything we can say, like, shoot, I wish I didn't say that, or I wish that had gone differently, and I get to repair that. And it sounds like to me that maybe you and your parents had a moment like that where
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
got to be a bit repaired, which is such a gift.
Huge, huge gift.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of
That's really helpful for our nervous systems too, whether we get to do that in real time or I help so many clients, be able to, we find creative ways to do that if we can't do it with the actual person.
Yes.
But
And that's what I had to
having,
do first.
sure.
It was
Yeah.
I had a lot of doing the work ahead of
Mm-hmm.
time. And do am I like intimate with either? No. My mom, I love her. I honor her. I respect her.
Yes.
And she gets to do her dance kind of over
Mm-hmm.
there,
Yeah.
right? And I get to
Right.
do
At
my
a safe
dance over
distance.
here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally.
we coexist and the kids
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all going to be okay.
Yeah. It's all going to be okay.
It's all
Oh,
going to be okay.
yeah. What a beautiful message in, of course, doing that inner healing work and then can have these compassionate boundaries in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Claire, I feel like we could have a whole
I
nother
know.
hour together, to be honest. I'm looking at the time like, oh, we could keep going. And we should. I think especially
Whatever
once,
you want.
when your book is coming out, would love to
Yeah.
have you back to talk some more, see where we're at that moment in time.
Maybe we don't want to die.
Yeah, right, exactly. We'll see how that version of ourselves is feeling in relation to this version of ourselves, right? But please tell everybody where they can find you, how they can work with you, all of the
Yes.
above.
Well, so my website is clairemarget.com. And I've
Mhm.
got, if you want to contact me for speaking, I do groups at
Love it.
universities, rehabs, all of that. I coach, I do embodiment coaching. You
Mhm.
can contact me through my website. I'm also active-ish on Instagram
Mhm.
and social media. Claire
Sure.
Marget. Everything's just Claire Marget.
Love it. Easy.
Yeah, and so that's writing the book, that's coming out in spring.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Coaching, embodiment coaching for institutions than for
Sure.
individuals.
Uh-huh.
And then speaking, I just love talking about cells and bodies
Mm.
and yeah,
Oh,
embodiment.
love it. Oh, well, thank you so much for all that you have so beautifully and vulnerably shared with us and taught. So grateful to have your wisdom here. And
I'm
so
very
grateful that
happy to
we
be
got to
here.
make this happen.
Yeah, finally.
Oh, finally, we did it. Oh,
We did
well,
it.
thank you so, so much. And I so look forward to having you back.
Me too. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Good Girls Gotta Heal. I am so grateful to have you in this community. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. That helps us out greatly. And we'll see you next time.